pitch and filter changes. How do you do that? You hold the button and you assign the changes. It's so very easy. But what happened here is that when I was so fast fiddling around, I accidentally pressed that button and changed some of the speed settings. And so it was assigned, the speed was assigned to the fader, which made things much more crippled. But then when I noticed it, it was very easy to clear that. So it was like, yeah. So that was the issue. It was user error. Because I was like, damn, this has never happened. This is not a bug. It can't be. And it was a user error. Which is a shame. Well, not a shame. It's just, yeah, you learn.
I got a question for you, Jake. How do you think about your music when preparing it live in terms of breaking it down into layers so that it sounds very finished? So, for example, with the rhythm, you're only using a mono output.
Yes.
So that doesn't really invade the mix so much. It sort of has a limited slot that it kind of fits in. How many different layers do you think about with your music? Like, I need room for the kick, room for the snare, and room for the pads. Because it sounded very, very balanced. Everything sounded really mixed. Nothing was fighting over anything else.
Thanks. Yeah, that's surprising to hear because this is kind of showing to put together. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think there is, like, for me, it's not layers, but it's actually frequencies.
Okay.
Yeah, because the kick and the bass can be the same layer if they're at the same frequency. If the bass is too low and the kick is a bit more poppy, and then yeah, well, I think that's the way that I would see it. But if we talk about layers, there is definitely three things I'd say. It's the beat that really attracts your attention, the melody that gives you the feeling, and something else that puts it together. And this is what the setup translates into, you know, melody and bass, and that puts it together. I think that's the way that I would go with. Look into it. But talking about that, more about that is it's more like mixing now, isn't it? That's what we're talking. It's I really pay a lot of attention in the octave track to get the sound levels right, because this is the mixer. It's the final thing, and that's how it really puts together. I think the octave track is really good at that. Yeah. So somehow we just glues everything together. And you can even take it further by assigning effects to the master track. I haven't done so this time. You can assign a compressor or an equalizer to be for, you know, change stuff around. Yeah, but in this set, the layers would be is that the bass and the pads was totally digital all the time. There was no melodic stuff coming from them. And here it was the jungle and drum and bass type of samples, like double times, 80s drums, and then the beats, the heavy beats was from here. So that's the three layers that I would say I was really focusing on. And shamefully, I didn't program much of the rhythm patterns. I just looked at what I had. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. The main work I was doing on the set, it was down to how did it work. This was kind of a complementary thing.
Do you game stage your stuff before you play live?
What do you mean?
Like, do you set your levels at a certain location before you play? Like the kick, like watch it where it's at, and then make sure that, you know, other things are.
Yeah, I actually rely on the mix that I have done previously, and then, well, in a room like this, it was great because I could hear exactly what you guys are doing. But yeah, some clubs sucks, and yeah, you just do wrong things. And then they look at you thinking that you should play very nicely, but you can't because the sound system isn't good. Because then they think that I'm doing the same thing as a DJ does, like the USB, but it's not the same thing. I don't know why I'm going into that, but in this case, like I was asking the sound guy, I said, just turn it as loud, quite loud. So then I have a lot of headroom. I really pay attention to that. It's very important because if you run out of headroom, especially with the octave track, you can start clipping the inputs, and that it's not only clipping, it kind of degrades the whole thing. I really need to have a lot of headroom because I really pay attention to that. Very important. So if I'm at home, like it's 9 o'clock is okay on the master level. Here at the gig, I would expect that 12, so that I have a lot of room to actually make it higher in the mix or lower in the mix. If I start at 9, that means that I'm already like near clipping the octave track inputs, which is the mixer. And if I want to hear the digital more, I will crank that up, or I put this in the red. So Is that what you were asking, kind of?
Kind of, because when I play live, I usually like to look at the frequencies of where my kick is hitting, where my bass is hitting, where my...
I can't see it or detail. I don't have any kind of LEDs, unfortunately. I would love to see that, and that's what I find really useful with the Overbridge, actually, which is out now. Advertisement. That's another thing. If you run the standalone plugin that you guys will see, or you've seen already, you get to see all the channels individually, which I wish these machines produced, but they don't have that. They have other things. They don't do that. So yeah, it's really lacking. What you're asking is something that I hope it's going to work out. And like I said, in clubs, sometimes it doesn't. And I have a really bad experience. You carry all this gear, and it's like, the monitor is nothing to do, the sound engineer doesn't understand what you're doing, it's confused, he's like thinking, why do you bring this gear? Can't you just bring a USB key? So it's very bothering. The thing is a very important thing, but I'm a bit crippled with that. And I couldn't even understand your question at first properly, so I don't really pay attention to that side of things. I just try to make it sound as good as I can. That's the intention.
Yeah. Are these tracks out? Do you have like any way to download these tracks?
Download?
Like, do you have these like on?
The one that I played right now?
Yeah.
No, like I said, I just made this yesterday and today. Yeah.
Your Bandcamp though.
You have your Bandcamp?
Yeah, it's I'm on YouTube, Bandcamp. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And this is a style that I've lately been really into actually, since New Year. I had a mega trip at New Year's Eve, so I was like, damn, this is good. And I hear a lot more than what I used to hear in this type of music. So that's making me very curious with this thing now. So yeah, I really want to do more stuff like this actually. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see, but yeah, it's getting me very excited. I was actually very bored of the music that I was making recently, but again, yeah, it's like 128 BPM or something. So I'm really happy to find this random path that all of a sudden happened.
Your music is clearly melodically focused. Do you start with your melodies when you're writing, or do you start with the beat? Some people start one way or the other. Start with a bass line. How do you approach it?
Yeah, I think it's usually the melody. That's the one that I really want to understand first. But on the other hand, it could be like, yeah, I just somehow, while I'm talking to someone, doing something, I just put a few steps and it sounds really good, all of a sudden it's a beat. You know, and then I would start with the beat. But I think usually I always try to get the melody right. I really like the melody stuff. Because once you got the melody right, putting the beat is very easy, I find it, at least for me. I find it much difficult to write a melody on a beat. Yeah, that's what I notice. Yes, it's And for me, what I find easy to be creative is separate them, use the machines at once. Like I actually, the stuff that we were hearing, I was making it on the plane coming here, on the Digiton with a little battery. So when I listened to them where we're staying, I was like, oh damn, this sounds really good. Just play with the mix of it and make it sound nicer. Yeah, it was so good. So yeah, the melody is the one that I think really ticks me off.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
I just want to tell everyone thank you for coming to the first Signal event, and I wanted to thank Daniel Trober with Elektron.
Yes.
I want to give you my Instagram. It's Travarsi Official to find out more information for the next show that we're going to do. Thank you.
Yeah.